Oriental Mindoro. It's a short jaunt away from the bustling roadways of Manila, but a portal into an unspoiled tropical paradise, rippling with an untamed edge. From the gateway of Puerto Galera to less trodden regions in the south, Oriental Mindoro has a place for sun worshippers and adventure seekers alike. And with plenty of new ecotourism initiatives underway, let's revisit the old and the new with a trek through the natural and historical beauty of Oriental Mindoro. The first spot that comes to mind is the first point, where most tourists touch down on white sand, Puerto Galera. A longtime beach destination for nearby Manileños, Puerto Galera is still a hot spot for sun lovers. Known as the Heart of Asia, Puerto Galera is recognized as a center for marine biodiversity and ranks on international surveys for having some of the most beautiful bays. Regulars can still look forward to nostalgic favorites. Fire dancers and stage performers on White Beach don't plan on dimming their spotlights anytime soon. Beachgoers come in hordes to revel in the spirit and campiness of their spectacular performances. But for travelers seeking more peace and quiet away from the pace of crowded beachgoers, Puerto Galera's reputation as a resort hub is catching on. For a more relaxed stay, Elizabeth's Hideaway is a hidden gem with privately organized water sports at your footstep. Instructors are included for first-timers willing to brave the waters. For lovers who really appreciate the serenity of beach views without the hassle of sandy toes, the remodeled Utopia Resort provides a rolling estate of amenities with the added touch of absolute privacy. Trendsetters that expect the bigger and better will roll in five-star luxury at Puerto Galera's newest hotspot. Infinity Resort takes tourists off the beaten path and towards the northern tip of Oriental Mindoro. Prominent among underwater adventures is Sabang, Oriental Mindoro's center for diving activities. On this coastal stretch, find an array of resorts and dive shops that suit your craving for marine adventure. Calapan is the capital of Oriental Mindoro. And by way of the strong Republic Nautical Highway, is the gateway to the entire island. Accessible by roll-on, roll-off ferry, the Nautical Highway leads farther down to southern Philippines. When sandy toes become a routine, a quick trip to Calapan City is a nice change of scenery. Away from the hustle and bustle of beach worshippers and tourists, Calapan City offers a more relaxing pace with added urban amenities. As the capital city of Oriental Mindoro, you'll find everything from striking government architecture to the natural charms of the province. Plan a whole day of sightseeing around town for the family. And for a quick rest, stop by the local coffee shop for a quick caffeine pick-me-up. Or just a seat to perch yourself and people watch. Shopping is plentiful for those who enjoy crowds and a good sale. And adventure tourists might even be surprised to find new touches to the Calapan Zoological Park. Take a walk or zip line on the wild side, and you'll find yourself flying high over tigers and monkeys. No day is complete without a last stop at the town market. Savor local delicacies with a night crowd. But the real buzz around Calapan is the Mangrove Boardwalk project, which also features kayaking among its activities. It's an exciting new industry that helps both the community and surrounding ecosystems. Tourists will soon be able to give back and make sure their green goes a lot further. If you're in Calapan City in February, you may be able to catch the Pandan Gitab Oriental Mindoro, also called the Festival of Lights. The yearly event takes place on the third Saturday of February. The name Pandan Gitab comes from the local street dance fair called Pandango sa Dagitab. Pandango is the name of a Philippine folk dance that evolved from the Spanish dance known as fandango. The Gitab describes a handmade lamp or portable light. The Pandan Gitab dancers carry these lights during the street performances. Clad in bright colors or traditional costumes, the dancers show grace and skill as they step to the music while balancing lanterns on their heads and hands. It's worth visiting Calapan City once a year to watch the Pandan Gitab dancers set the streets on fire. Venturing away from the bustle of Calapan City and Puerto Galera, history buffs might be impressed by the quaint and unspoiled sights found in other parts of the island. A side trek to visit Nauhan's most famous tourist destination is a must. An old church is worth 1,000 stories, and Simbahang Bato is no exception. Just a short 45-minute trip from the town center brings you to an unexpected and charming surprise in Barangay Bangkuro. Augustinian priests established their first settlement here, built the church in the 17th century, and preached about Jesus to the local native community. The original architecture is classic Augustinian construction, where coral was taken from the sea and infused into the stone. This safe house also served as a refuge for worshippers during invasions by the Moros. In 2011, the church was given modern upgrades by a gracious donation from a local family, and they reconstructed a new roof. Time and history hasn't been kind to this small stone church, but the spirit of the community keeps it alive and a still relevant place of worship. Embracing the road less traveled, you'll find there's more to be uncovered throughout the northern end of Oriental Mindoro. Named after a fern by local Mangyan natives, Baco is the oldest town in Oriental Mindoro. Sitting at the edge of Mount Halcon, it's a convenient base for mountain climbers to prepare themselves for the trek ahead. It may not be the highest mountain in the Philippines, but the steep slopes of Mount Halcon earns it the title as one of the country's most difficult to climb. It's definitely a place to bring your friends for both the moral and physical support. You never know when you'll need a boost. And at the end of your shared conquest, reward yourselves at one of the natural freshwater resort pools at the base of the mountain. A perfect spot to recap all the action. If the heights of Mount Halcon seem far too intimidating, San Teodoro offers some of the province's best whitewater kayaking. Barangay Calangatan, Sitio Arigoy is a great spot for beginner and novice kayakers to beat the heat. With a guide and gear included, you're in good hands. Catch a bit of air and perhaps a splash. And with San Teodoro, home to 13 waterfalls, you'll have plenty of photo opportunities to say cheese and smile next to some of the most picturesque backdrops in all of Oriental Mindoro. For the less action-inclined, there's another way to travel by boat at a slower speed. The town of Pola invites tourists to hire local fishing boats for a visit through nearby mangrove forests. Cruising past the vines, you'll admire the industrious locals who've carved out a home in this natural jungle. And on to Victoria, to sample the freshest fruits like rambutan, lanzones, durian, dalandan, marang, mangosteen, and dragon fruit. At the end of the day, a well-deserved view from all the adventure trekking can be found at the entrance of Nauhan Lake. Bound by 4 of the municipalities of Nauhan, Victoria, Socorro, and Pola, Nauhan Lake is the 5th largest in the Philippines and thrives with a unique community at every edge. With a packed calendar of festivals throughout the year, there's something to celebrate every day, especially when it's a chance to don your finest fashion for a promenade through the town center. As you wind down your adventures in the north, be sure to make a last stop for specialty souvenirs. Banana chips are Oriental Mindoro's ideal pasalubong to bring home for friends and family, freshly produced and packaged within the province. Cassava cake, flavored squid, and calamansi concentrate are other classic flavors of the region. Stock up on snacks as you prepare to make your way further south, where there's more to be discovered. Not as much tourist attention is devoted to them, but the municipalities in the southern half of Oriental Mindoro offer all sorts of sights and pleasures for the adventuresome traveler. The south is a blossoming frontier of hidden gems and gorgeous views. Making the trek may seem rugged and daunting, but in the end, you'll find your beauty in the rough. About 2 hours away from Calapan port lies the municipality of Pinamalayan. It is a peaceful-looking town still covered in greenery. Its emblem is the rainbow, which is the central attraction of the town's recreational park. The rainbow plays a part in the town's legendary origins. The story goes that some migrants had sailed out of the island of Marinduque when their ship got caught in the storm. The sailors got hopelessly lost until a rainbow appeared. "Ipinamalay na," the sailors cried, as the rainbow showed them the way to go. They followed it and landed on what is now part of Pinamalayan. The municipality is a burgeoning center of commerce, home to successful manufacturers of food products, mainly banana chips and cassava chips. The central market is buzzing with activity. The catch of the day is on display, along with an abundance of dried fish. You'll also see heaps of fresh fruits and vegetables, mangoes, squash, ampalaya, and a lot more. Pinamalayan is also developing its tourist industry. The town has some holiday resorts, such as Bulaklak Beach Resort. Bulaklak offers an escape from the summer heat with restful pavilions, a swimming pool, and the shade-covered sands by the waters of the Sibuyan Sea. You could stay overnight in one of these cozy cottages and experience the serenity of traditional country living. From Pinamalayan, it's a 30-minute drive to the next municipality, Gloria. This township has quite a modern-looking pamilihang bayan, or trading center. People come here to get all kinds of goods, but most especially rice. Here in Gloria, we get a chance to relax in luxury at the Bali Beach Resort and Spa, an attractive place overlooking the sea. The resort has a design that mixes Filipiniana touches with decor that appears Balinese or Thai. Nature lovers owe it to themselves to pay a visit to Walang Langit waterfalls. This will involve trekking through a river, a hike that can take an entire hour. But it's an easy trek over a sleeping river that rarely requires you to get your boots wet. In time, your boots will lead you to a rocky trench carved out by the river. From beneath the gorge, you gape up at vaulted cliffs that almost block out the sun. In the past, the forest growth stretched over the mouth of the gorge, keeping out the sky. That's what gave the area the name Walang Langit. The air gets markedly cooler as you go deeper, and the cliff walls get narrower. Gigantic boulders waylay the path leading to the falls. But the effort pays off with one sight of an ethereal cascade, a ghostly torrent against the glow of the dark, reflected rock. Another waterfall attraction can be found in the neighboring municipality, Bansud. The Manihala waterfalls break into a multitude of smaller flows, trickling down terraces carved in rock. The fall's water is a deep pool which you can dive in. Manihala is nature's very own water park. Bansud is known as a peaceful town for a quiet unwinding. Once you pass by the delightful banana landmark, you'll find yourselves entering a most relaxing provincial town. Those looking to visit a resort can go to Madre Monte, a place owned and operated by the local government. Swimming facilities are available for family fun in the sun. We also visited the Bansud Municipal Hall grounds, which are admirably spacious. The grounds feature an outdoor stage good for local events, and an open-air pool where one can enjoy recreational boating. While you're in town, don't miss the Museum of the People and Culture of Bansud. It showcases a variety of traditional artifacts, many of them used by the Mangyan tribe known as the Buhid of Bansud. Buhid means up in the highlands. These are Buhid homes made from bamboo and thatched kogon grass. Pottery, basketry, mortars, and other tools offer a glimpse of the traditional Buhid lifestyle. And you'll see examples of Surat Buhid, an ancient Mangyan script. We'll encounter more culture at our next destination, Bongabong, town of rustic and subtle history. It is also a center for organic agribusiness. At the Bongabong Demo Farm, we discover an extensive outdoor piggery. These pens house healthy animals that are raised on natural feeds. The farm can provide training for those interested in organic hog racing as a livelihood. Now we go to visit a fascinating ruin found within the borders of Bongabong. Hidden in the forest, the remains of a Spanish colonial fortification stand in silent memoriam of a volatile era. In the 17th century, this was the Kuta Church of Anilao, and now called the Kuta Church Ruins. It was built by the Augustinian Recollects to serve as a place for Catholic worship, as well as a garrison from attacks by the Moros, or indigenous Muslim tribespeople. The walls were constructed from a kind of concrete made with coral, held together with lime. Kuta Anilao proved incapable of blunting the fury of Moro attacks, and it was abandoned and at some point ravaged by fire, was forgotten and lost for many years. It has receded into the jungle, the bricks having mingled with the woody tendrils of the baleta trees, an ominous testament to the march of history and the dominion of Mother Nature. But nature is also beautiful, as you can see on a walk by the Sukol River in Bongabong. Still undergoing development, the riverside walk is already prettified by a bevy of colorful plants and blossoms. And from the river walk, you can see part of the Bongabong Mangrove Sanctuary. Here, one may also enjoy kayaking along the Bongabong River, the best way to learn the beautiful environment secrets of this town. A 30-minute drive from Bongabong takes us to the town of Roxas, commercial heart of the South. Our interest lies not in the bustling town center, but in the natural attractions to be found. Roxas is home to the largest cave complex in Oriental Mindoro, the San Rafael Cave. The journey to the cave demands a trek of 45 minutes. The trail passes through fields thick with grass and hills that test your tenacity. But there are panoramas to savor along the way. All in all, it's a hike of moderate difficulty, None too taxing if you're in fairly good shape. Though a horseback ride wouldn't be a bad idea. A group of hikers has made it to the San Rafael Cave, resting in a hut before continuing on into the darkness. Safety gear needs to be equipped. Hard hats and flashlights are mandatory. As you will soon see, they are vital to a safe caving adventure. We follow the hikers into the San Rafael Cave. They are greeted by a lofty ceiling above a vault bathed in sunlight. Earthy hues and coral shades glimmer in the radiance. It feels quite cathedral-like. Deeper into the cave, the darkness presses in. Harried bats flap and fly above our heads. The next chamber is massive. The explorers must tread carefully on the sloping, treacherous ground. But there are many sights to delight explorers' eyes. Weeping stalactites, subterranean pools, underground terraces, even a rock-dwelling cave cricket. Exploring the next section involves a tight squeeze through a tricky passageway. We pass through another huge chamber, slogging through a lot of mud and water. Then we find ourselves confronted with a waterfall of stone. We admire the wonder that nature herself has sculpted. The underworld marvels of San Rafael Cave are well worth a personal encounter. But after a while, it also feels good to emerge from the cave into the open air. There's still time to check out another Roxas attraction, the viewpoint overlooking the Dangay Port area, a place from which to appreciate the spectacle of land, sky, and sea. Another grand vista awaits us in Mansalay, where nature and heritage come together. This panoramic view can be found at Mansalay Eco Park, a place of forested hills overlooking peaceful rice paddies and the sleepy Sibuyan Sea. A stairway leads up the tallest hill on the park, but the climb isn't as easy as it looks. Once at the top, you'll enjoy a 360-degree view of the verdant Mansalay landscape. The Eco Park is a popular destination during the Lenten season. The Stations of the Cross are depicted at various points along the trail. Catholic pilgrims can walk from one station to another as a sign of faith and devotion and get a bit of outdoor exercise out of it. Mansalay is known for its cultural villages inhabited by the indigenous folk known as the Mangyans. There are several tribes of Mangyan. The ones who live here are known as Hanunuo. The approach to Sitio Bait, Barangay Panaytayan village takes us on a bumpy ride over the dried-up riverbed. In the wet season, this rough road will be covered beneath the river's flow. At Sitio Bait, Barangay Panaytayan, we wander about, taking in the humble dwellings of these people who live off the land, much like their distant ancestors did. They support themselves through shifting cultivation on small mountain plots and traditional handicrafts such as these ornaments woven from beads. They sell these and many other handmade products at very affordable prices. Their handiwork is characterized by vibrant color combinations or striking geometric designs. The Hanunuo villagers prove very friendly and welcoming. They have invited us to sit down with them so they can share with us a small piece of their culture. Chief of this is the ambahan, a poetic form traditionally used in their courtship. Ambahan is poetry with a purpose, meant to convey one person's sentiments to another. This message is commonly etched upon a banban, a short tube of bamboo. It is written in indigenous Hanunuo lettering, also known as Surat Mangyan. Traditionally, a young man would inscribe an ambahan on a banban and leave it on a path where his beloved was sure to walk by and find it. It was text messaging, Hanunuo style. One of the villagers is carrying a handmade guitar. Let's take a moment to hear the Hanunuo serenade us with their music before we leave Sitio Bait, Panaytayan to visit their burial grounds. The Mangyans believe that death is part of the cycle of life and not something we need to fear. They respect and value the bones of the dead. In their tradition, a year after the burial of a loved one, they will unearth the body, clean the skeletal remains, and wrap them in cloth. The remains are then kept in a native hut for a year. Then, they are taken to their final resting place in a cave sacred to the Mangyans. We are on our way to one of these Mangyan burial caves. Getting there requires us to wade through a cluster of mangroves. These have been planted here as part of a local mangrove restoration project. It's an idyllic spot, a shallow stretch of sea that serves as a fish sanctuary and nurtures these crook-limbed trees. Past the grove is a little island of rock and sand. The further east we go, the bigger the boulders get. The cave sits on a rocky base made up of great stony slabs. We peer into the cave to see the Mangyan skulls and bones. It is a moment for us to quietly revere the ancestors of a people who lived in Mindoro long before the Spaniards came. We have come to the last township of the south, Bulalacao, the gem of Oriental Mindoro. Our first stop here is the fish landing port. It's early in the morning, and fishermen are coming back to shore, bringing the day's catch with them. The fish are weighed and prepared to be taken to market. One man appears very happy about the large fish he caught. Bulalacao's southernmost shore is the perfect jumping point for exploring the myriad resort islands dotting this part of the sea. It's a destination that calls out to beach lovers, but the lack of development in Bulalacao has kept its resorts largely undiscovered. It is mainly the locals and a few adventurous backpackers who visit Bulalacao and its jewel of an island chain, for now. Island hopping on a light outrigger, we make our first landing at Tambaron Green Beach Resort. Tambaron is the largest of the islands and known for the lushness of its forest, where 40 different tree species can be found. The semi-enclosure keeps the water near the beach calm and fair, just right for a swim. Beachfront cottages and overnight rooms are available for families and groups. We hop on over to the next island, named Sugikay. The beach here is larger and livelier. Fisherfolk check their nets by the shore, their children helping out. Other kids play on the sand. Nearby, the resort beach is marked by the flag-top poles. It feels nice to stretch out on the sand and bask in the golden light of the sun. Our next stop is Buyayao. A long, empty stretch of beach lined with coconut palms greets us on arrival. Save for a couple of huts, the beachfront appears utterly undeveloped. This is a place where one can truly get away, or get lost, or quickly grab an hour of absolute serenity. A couple more islands await us, but there are many others in the sea. Some are rocky crags, others are bursting with greenery. Every isle is alluring in its own way. The stories about them convince us of this truth. Our boat takes us to an isle that is said to be both enchanted and cursed. It is called Target Island because the military once used it as target practice for their bombs. But it has been developed into a delightful tourist resort that is fascinating to explore. The visitor is first struck by the rock formations that were sculpted by wind and waves. Then you follow the path to another beach where a lovely sight can be seen offshore. A crusty chunk of weathered rock that seabirds call their home. Despite the stony beach, you feel like stopping here a while just to admire nature's grandeur. There is yet another beach to admire, yet more rocky cliffs to contemplate. But now we head to the heart of the island, the place where the bombs once fell. There is a shallow, swampy pool here, partly overgrown with mangrove shrubs. Life takes over where death once reigned. We walk back to the shore And from there, we admire the cluster of guest houses that seem to be growing like mushrooms upon the gray rock. Our final stop is the island of Aslo. Its striking feature is a narrow sandbar that curls out into the sea. The tide has come in, so most of the sandbar is now submerged. The unusual beach inspires a playful spirit and fun splash in the sea. And so ends our travelogue of Oriental Mindoro, a place best known for the resort getaway of Puerto Galera. But there is much more to the province than that tourist mecca. Oriental Mindoro has no shortage of beautiful beaches and seaside resorts. Numerous islands offer idyllic escapes not far from the shores. Inland, you'll find that the forest and hills hide historical ruins, waterfalls, and caves. And the Mangyan natives will welcome you to get to know them and learn about their culture. Backpackers have long known of the fantastic experiences to be found throughout Oriental Mindoro, Philippines. It's time the rest of the world got to know of its wonders too.